Bob Nagy here, AB5N, back with some more new equipment. These are two interesting shack accessories I just discovered over at iGateMini.com, also known as csntechnologies.net. And the first one is the iGateMini itself. It is a completely self-contained iGate. That means it picks up information off of 144.39 or whatever frequency you set it to, and pushes that APRS information into the APRS servers so that it shows up on the map, say over at aprs.fi. So if you live in a place that does not have good APRS coverage, for very little money you can throw one of these really nice APRS receiver boxes up and be part of the APRS system. The other is the SAT, or Standalone Antenna Controller for satellites over here. And it is a really nice form factor box that takes care of all of the complex stuff as far as running your radios and satellite antenna trackers. So all the ICOM multiband UHF, EHF radios that can do satellites, this thing can talk to them and adjust their frequencies as well. It controls the Yaesu G5500, 5400 Azel series rotors, and does so automatically. Compensates for Doppler, searches for current passes on satellites, and it's the one box answer to tying the whole system together for those guys who always wanted to do satellite. So let's take a look at these two really interesting items. Taking a look at the iGateMini over here. Really nice metal box on this baby. Good form factor, good size. We have the USB power connection over here. We have an RJ45 networking cable when you're initially setting it up, and a second standard USB cable. On the other side, we have three antennas. We've got one for the Wi-Fi, so that's got a good long-range Wi-Fi connection. So you wanted to run this outside. It has an external GPS antenna connector over here. It will pick up from an internal antenna on the chipset, but if you had wanted to use one of the external powered little ones, they're very inexpensive, that have the amplifiers in them. You can just screw it on there and stick it into your window. And then it comes with a little stubby VHF antenna for the heck of it, I guess. But that's where you use an adapter cable. These are SMAs, standard SMAs, and connected up to an outside antenna. Really a nicely made package. The internal website on the iGate is easily accessed if you have your RJ45 cable to begin with, so you can set it up. If you just put in iGateMini.local, period, it's going to come up with the internal website over here. And its default is the status page. And you're going to be able to see, once you get it set up, what stations are beaconing in. And you can click on them and find out where they are and all that kind of stuff, all that kind of good stuff. And on the bottom over here, it has just some of the, the frequency that you're set on, how long the thing's been turned on, the last update to the firmware you did. It says external drive, and there is a USB connector, so I'm imagining you can stick a flash drive or whatever in there, maybe save your logs. But the configure page is the important thing when you're first setting it up. And that populates fairly fast, a few seconds. They call it the dire wolf settings. So you put in the frequency that you want to beacon on, and 144.39 is going to be the one that you're listening on. I said beacon, but I mean listening on. And it has like information right on the side over here is telling you on 144.39 what it is in Europe. And of course the International Space Station is 145.825. There's APRS in that. Your APRS call sign, which normally is your call -10 for a iGate station. Your IG login is your call letter. Your APRS passcode is a number that's assigned to you so that you can validate yourself coming into the APRS servers, and they walk you through getting your number here. So once you get it, you put it in here. IG server, you just pick one that's close to you. You drop down menu. I pick North America. Beacon interval 30 minutes, so it'll just sit there every 30 minutes, sort of pop a beacon up. You don't want that to be too often. And your APRS symbol, I receive only iGate is the one I chose because that's what this is. What little symbol is going to show up on the APRS map. And the comment, I put Hot Springs iGate over here, whatever you want, your city, iGate, something like that. And if you want to just manually put in your location, say you're not driving around with this thing, it's a fixed receiver, you don't really need a GPS picking up your moving position. You can, I did, because I have a receiver antenna here, but you can just not have that clicked. Put in your grid square over here, especially if you got the two suffix letters after the number, and it will put in the latitude and longitude for you, and you're pretty much done. You can choose whether you want metric or imperial units over here, and a satellite filter for stations directly on the uplink over here. This is just stuff that has to do with ISS and its APRS functions. And you can send in the device statistics if you want, or opt out by clicking over there. It checks for updates down here to the firmware. That's nice. You can reboot it, send debug info because it's being refined, and a complete factory reset. Really pretty darn straightforward. When you get into it the first time with your RJ45 Ethernet cable, you'll want to set up your Wi-Fi. So it scans automatically, and it picks, it shows you all the stuff around you, and you can just pick your network, put in your password twice, join the network, and you are done. So it's very easy to do that. Now, also, if you do not have an RJ45 connector cable, you can just wait a minute, and it will generate its own Wi-Fi network for you to log onto, and it's not protected, so you just log right onto it, and you can do the setup without a cable. Pretty cool, huh? So I'm connected to my Wi-Fi network over there, and it has two links over here for APRS.FI, the very common map that we all look at ourselves on, and APRS Direct, a newer thing that's the same type of deal, what promises very real-time updates and that kind of thing. So direct links right to those. What's keen on the iGate is that if you ever do need to know what IP number it has grabbed, it's continuously flashing on a little LED that's right to the right of the USB power connector. And in between the sets of IP numbers, it'll do a real fast brrr like that, so you know there's a sort of a period there. But you can always grab that IP number, there we go, by just looking at the flashes on the front of the iGate. A quick physical look at the SAT device itself over here. Really nice, thick constructed case on this thing. On the front over here, you have a voltage fine-tuning for your AS-L when you do the initial calibration with your rotor over here. That's what you do before you're going to really be twisting your antennas around at all. On the rear, we have the radio connection over here, which is it's just a traditional 1/8 inch stereo plug. They provide that cable, and that's for the CAT control line going to your radio. We have the rotator control output here, a multi-pin mini DIN, which they provide the cable for, goes to your rotator control box. We have, of course, USB power, and this thing doesn't require much power. We also have a relay, a nice little normally closed, normally open relay connection over here, an ancillary controller thing, which a lot of people are using to do other stuff. Now, if you don't have an RJ45 Ethernet cable handy, both of these devices will generate their own internal Wi-Fi if they don't feel a cable is attached. And then you can log on to that Wi-Fi with your laptop or PC and go ahead and set up your local Wi-Fi as the thing to connect to. So the next time, it will automatically connect to your local Wi-Fi. And the IP number you put in your browser for the device is blinked on the LED on the iGate and shown right on the LCD display on the SAT. The basic configuration you're going to look at is with your map screen over here showing the trajectory over your area and your AS-L projection over here, which is really nice. You see AOS, LOS, and the exact path across with your AS-L of the rotor. Here's a ground-based display over here, sort of interesting. You can see when you're going to lose the signal, and of course the AS-L is also shown on here, and just a different projection really. Then you have the satellite with all of its CW beacon, telemetry beacons, its passband going on down here. And then you have the stuff in a text format over here with acquisition and loss of signal, exactly what the rotor's doing, the name of the satellite, and you can pop out a detailed map over here or satellite status. That are different websites that show other people's reports of that satellite. Any and all of these windows are pop-outable with extra windows that you can just pop out of and stick on your other monitor down here on the bottom. Hit window, and then it just pops out and creates another window. So if you want an enlarged map window or something like that, that's very easy to create. These controls over here again, of course, are looking at the future passes. If you want to see all of them and select a few satellites or take a look at what they're going to be doing. Continuous means that you're put in a satellite and you're tracking it and things are going on. You can schedule for a pass, which is nice. You can go ahead and park the antennas or enable or disable the antennas like that. Or you can stop all functions right over here. Now on the bottom, we hit into control here, and you can get manual control of the as-L of your antenna. All of these have like close buttons on them. The TLE, which is your, of course, database, automatically has the MSAT.org URL in there ready to get you your updated TLE, which is nice. And I think that may be automatable. What rotor you're running over here. Okay, one of the Yaesu as-L rotors here. And then you can fine-tune what's going on with a rotor. This is well documented, so you can go through this stuff and sort of fine-tune things. Your network over here is setting up your Wi-Fi so that the SAT device automatically logs onto your Wi-Fi. And that is really quick. And it's like that thing boots up and is logged on super quick. On radio, you're setting up what radio you have over here. Your, of course, CAT address. This is A2H is the default one on the 9700. This speed is not the default speed, so that speed and the one on your CAT has to be the same. Again, well documented. This is the default is the standard for 9700 or this. And the update interval, you can update, the control of the CAT line going to your radio quicker than 1 second, 1000 milliseconds, but it makes it a little harder to gain control if you're trying to override it manually. So 1 second is a really good interval. And, of course, minimum frequency change and such. Most of the defaults are the stuff that's working on this, what you're going to want anyway. Here's your location, of course, call, grid square. I put mine in all the way down to the suffix there. And it automatically fills in Latin lawn, and then your offset from Zulu time there, for me -5. I'm going with feet and inches, imperial. And you can control the brightness on the LCD of the little SAT unit. Call log over here, well, you can just save your things. You've got basically a built-in logbook, which is rather nice. You can do that externally, of course. You can, in fact, run an external satellite tracker as well. You don't have to use the one that's inside here. You could pull up a G-Track or something. And here's a log of all the passes here. So, some pretty keen devices, eh? Well, you can be an assist in the amateur community by filling in those holes out there on the IPRS maps with a little iGate receiver. Or you guys that have always said, I'm going to get into satellites at some point, and it's always sort of a big black hole that you're afraid to, go in and do all the things you need to do. This really makes it a lot easier. So, all right, until next time, take care.